feel like I'm behind this week. Like, I'm not sure what I filmed or what I've done yet, just because I was so far behind last week, and it's just still trying to figure out the format of this. So I think this week I will just dedicate the video to like a movie review and try to go more in depth. It's getting to the point where like the weeks are starting to like run over me, and I'm not able to keep up just because of work, school, running, all that. If you're wondering what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to do some push-ups, and I have bad wrists, so I put these wrist guard things on so I don't use like my joints near as much, so just kind of like help provide support. And that'll be it. That's all I'm going to talk about for the week, and I will move straight into a movie review starting now. Alright, it's almost been like a week since that last clip, and it's just been a super busy week. But anyways, the movie review for this week, and this week it's 127 hours. Alright, here we go. I'm going to try to switch up the format some by watching the movie and trying to talk about it some. I don't know, see how it goes and see if it's entertaining and see if it's fun for you guys. But anyways, here we go. This is a great movie. Do I recommend it? Yes, I do recommend it. It's a story about survival. It's a story about endurance. And it's one that is really incredible because it's also like, it's based off a true story. And the title gives it away, 127 hours. And it's about this guy named Aaron Ralston. He goes hiking out in Utah in the Canyonlands, and he didn't tell anyone where he was going, but he goes and he's on this adventure, and the next thing he knows, he gets trapped. Gets this really large, I think it was 800-pound boulder. Like, it was an insanely big boulder. Like, his hand was like wedged between this boulder and this canyon, and he stayed there for 127 hours, which is the equivalent of 5 days. He survived miraculously, and he lived to tell the tale, and they made this movie based off the story, and that's 127 hours. Let's talk about the actor for a second. This movie stars James Franco, and when I first saw this movie, I was on that Spider-Man high as a kid, so to me, James Franco, he's Harry Osborn. And so I'm like, well, this isn't going to be a stupid movie because Harry Osborn, the guy, the boy prince who owns New York City, is going on this adventure. Like, this is bullshit. But James Franco delivers on his performance, and he caught my eye, and I was just like, wow, like he's a good actor. And say what you will about the guy, because he's had his own problems. He's had like his addiction with success and drugs and I think girls, and he said in an interview one time that he was always trying to like reach the next bigger thing, which is common, I believe, for people who are successful or people who are trying to get something. They just want something bigger and better, and that's why the world has a problem with greed. And but I admire him as an actor, and he like crushes it, I think, and he's like really solid. I love the scene where he's just going through the desert on his bike. I'm sure that's not James Franco on that bike. It might be, but I'm just like, my gosh, it's so sweet. This is one of those movies where like it's inspiration for people who, especially people who want to be a filmmaker. This movie would inspire a wannabe filmmaker or someone with dreams or aspirations to be a filmmaker, because there's not a lot to it. There's just the actor, James Franco, and the camera for the most part, because the characters are very minimal in this movie. And so James Franco and his performance and the editing and the camera work, like, it tells the story, and it tells it for like an hour and a half, and it's like it holds your attention. It's like, man, like you could just study like how they do that and get creative. It's like, oh man, I could almost like make this myself, just me and a few buddies. Like, we could have made this movie. And yeah, so it's, in that aspect, it's really inspirational for the filmmaker. And like me as an actor, I'm always searching for nuggets. And I watched the director's commentary on this movie, And if you're like an actor and you have aspirations to do that, I recommend this commentary for this movie if you get your hands on the DVD, because the director, Danny Boyle, I think is his name, he talks about like James Franco and his performance and how you give an actor a camera and that's how they give the performance. Like, you don't have to give the actor much. Like, you mostly just give them the camera and let them just roll and run with it. And he was just really motivational in his like talk, and it was like more like a talk towards actors.
We repeated the exact canyon and its dimensions and also its restrictiveness, because we didn't make it a floating set, which they normally do when they build sets. We kept it very, very constrictive, so that the style of the film is dictated by how little room there is. It's only possible for one cameraman to be in the spot with him. There was no more room for anybody else to do anything. We also reduced James to tears nearly because he was not allowed to use his right hand under any circumstances, because it's absolutely pinned under there. And he was extraordinary, the performance of James Franco, of the way he went about it, the way he embraced this reductive nature of, can you make a film with nothing really, in a way? Because it must never become inert, you know, it must always be moving in terms of the emotional journey he's on.
And I believe he gave a lot more nuggets. I ended up even writing some of it down in my notebook. Like, man, that's like some good stuff to like take away for hopefully like future film projects. See, and like shots like this, like I love these shots. It's very like home filmmaker vibes. It's really good. Okay, I'm watching the movie, and James Franco's character, Aaron Ralston, he makes the comment like, hey, this is my second home. In other words, like, he's really familiar with the area, so he kind of has this like cocky vibe about him, and it's just like, you know, that will get you. That will always get you. It's like there's a statistic that you're more likely to have a wreck within a 2-mile radius of your home, because that's what you're most familiar with, so you don't expect to have a wreck there, but that's where you end up wrecking. It's like within a 2-mile radius of your home, and it's like, wow. And so here James Franco is, or Aaron Ralston for this matter, like he's in his home because he loves the adventure, he loves to go out, and you know, it bites him in the ass. And so it's just like a tale of like, hey, you still need to like be careful and like let people know like what you're up to if you're going out, and you know, just kind of keep your people close. And I think Aaron Ralston at this time in his life was just young and cocky and was just seeking a thrill.
So much of it was to try to prove to myself that I'm good enough and capable. And like, okay, yeah, do I need to keep doing that to the point where I'm going to end up killing myself on the side of a mountain somewhere from some accident on an adventure and leaving my family alone? Like, that's it's not my priority anymore.
I'm watching this as like a filmmaker and as an actor, thinking like, my goodness, could you imagine like walking into the studio, throwing down the papers and being like, hey, I want to make a movie where a guy gets his arm trapped by a rock and he's trapped there for 5 days, and then he escapes by cutting his arm off. And they're like, all right, well, what happens to the movie? Like, that's it. Like, he's trapped there the whole time. And that's what you see for an hour and a half. And it's like, my goodness, the movie does such a good job of like showing like Aaron going on this journey, and it's just like wow, like I can't believe this actually happened in like real life. And Aaron Ralston, the guy who actually lived through this, he wrote a book with the title, you know, Between a Rock and a Hard Place. And I wonder if that quote and that saying like stimulates from him, or if it's always just been a common saying. But in his situation, it was reality and literal. So I'm just like, man, like, and it's just like, wow, like they really crushed it on this movie. And just for someone like Aaron Ralston to have the tenacity and the resilience to like do this, to endure, and just thinking like, hey, you know, the only way I'm going to survive this, the only way I'm going to escape is if I like amputate my own arm. And that's the only way I'm going to live, or else I'm going to be stuck here, I'm going to die here. And I remember like there's interviews of Aaron Ralston talking about how he was like so depressed and so upset, and within these moments that he started like carving his name and his death date on the walls, and it was just, and he has camera like this, like a setup kind of like this, and was just talking to his camera and venting to his camera and saying like, hey, Mom and Dad, I fucked up. I messed up. I wasn't a good son. I wasn't any of these things, and I wish I could have been a better person. And like pretty much, like his videos were his like letters to his family and to his friends, and was just saying like, "Hey, I'm sorry," or like, "Hey, you meant this much to me." And some of those have released online. And I imagine like the filmmakers like who were in charge of this project, they got their hands on those and got to like see more of what really happened. And I think Aaron Ralston actually like even helped with the film some and the story. And it's just like insane. And I think Aaron Ralston now, he's like just a public speaker, goes around, tells his story, and just talks about like, hey, people in the world around you, like they matter, and it's important to like keep those connections alive and keep building those connections. Man, I love this movie. I love watching it, and it just reminds me of like, hey, hold the people you have in your life close. You never know when they're gonna be gone. You never know what kind of situation you'll find yourself in, because every time you talk to someone, it could be your last moment. And yeah, just and be resilient during hard times. And I think that's what this movie shows, like endurance and resilience. And props to Aaron Ralston for making it through this adventure, and props to the filmmakers for giving us this movie, and props to James Franco. Like he delivers a wonderful performance. No matter like what's happening behind the scenes in his life, like he delivers on this performance. Like, so 127 hours, highly recommend it. What do you think of this? Did you enjoy this? I don't know how the video turned out. I haven't edited it yet. I don't know what it looks like. I hope it turned out good though. And so this video, I tried to give it more of a focus. Like, hey, we're backing out from schoolwork and all this, and we're just going to focus on the movie review this week. And what's crazy is, I figured my schoolwork would do better because I'm focusing on the movie review this week. But I actually my test scores and my assignment grades, like they all dropped this week. So I'm thinking like, man, maybe I should be like continue documenting throughout the week, because maybe it like gives me a boost or something. I don't know, because whenever the camera's not there to hold me accountable and I'm not like talking to like you guys, then I think I just don't have a accountability partner in a sense. So I don't know. We'll see how this video turns out. And if I appreciate you if you comment, I really do appreciate that. Or if you have like little things you like about the video or things you don't like please let me know. And I will still just try to create better stuff. And I really need to figure out some music for this channel and this year, because I haven't had a song yet in a video. So other than that, this week went all right. Way behind on things and still trying to figure things out with like school, the format for this, and I still got some shit I have to do. One of the football players, he paid me to gather all the clips of him from the football footage, which it's like 10 hours of footage. So going through all that footage and like just finding his clips, that's gonna be a chore. But don't worry, Bryson, I will get it done for you, man. And he's already like paid, so now I just need to deliver on my end. That wedding video I talked about, sorry, I'm going on a ramble real quick here, but that wedding video I've talked about before, I think I'm going to wait to work on that on spring break. Just because, just ain't got time right now. Running this past week went good. Hopefully running this week goes good. This coming up week. But anyways, I will, that's enough. I'm done talking now, guys. I will see you next week. Tim Wayne,
Yeah.
you know how I'm doing these movie reviews now?
Yeah.
Well, this week's over 127 hours.
Okay.
So give me like a 20-second or 30-second hot take on 127 hours. Like what your thoughts are.
Put me on the spot. All right. Man, honestly, kind of what I took from that movie is, number one, never go out adventuring unless people know where you're going. That's number one. But number two, also don't be afraid to get in some hairy spots, because where that man lost his arm was a pretty cool freaking crevice, and I'd have been all up in it. It'd have been fun. It would have been awesome. But hey, he messed up and didn't tell anybody. He had to cut his arm off with a pocket knife. It could have been avoided as long as you told somebody where you're going, or nowadays you can have a GPS. Buy one of those freaking expensive ass GPSs and bring it with you. Keep the ping on you at all times.
Oh my gosh. So you would recommend the movie?
Oh, 100%. If you haven't watched it, watch that shit.